Fathia, happy Friday. How are you
Jum'ah
today?
Mubarak, Jum'ah Mubarak, mashallah. Happy Friday, my dear sister. It
Happy
is a
Friday. I am
glorious Friday. It's beautiful.
right. We still got the snow, and today is actually the warmest day out of the whole week for us here in Ohio. We've been in the minus for a few days now, but I'm glad we're getting out of that cold day, those cold days. I'm excited for us to discuss today about all the executive orders that have been signed since President Trump took office. I mean, it's wild out here, guys. Like the amount of executive orders being signed. These executive orders, they're not actually just going to impact immigrants and outside the U.S. It will actually impact some of the Americans here in the U.S. as well, and not
Indeed.
just rely on the U.S. So I can't wait for us to dive into these executive orders. Few of them, the ones that
Yeah.
we actually believe that could impact, like people from outside the U.S. and also people from inside the U.S. So we'll just touch base with a few of the executive orders. Welcome everybody. Thank you for being here. We're excited.
Hello, everyone. Mashallah. We see some names already. Shamis and Sharmarke and Amira. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. And Jum'ah Mubarak to all of you. It is a beautiful, beautiful, glorious day. Obviously, like Muhibbo, just like you said, I mean, he signed over 200 executive actions. And of course, we don't have time to go through all of them. Just a few of the ones we think are interesting and controversial, some of them. And some of them I'm actually excited about them. And yeah, so we're just going to go through, I think, 6 or 7 of them. Obviously, we're not lawyers and we're not experts, but we just, as Americans who have a stake of what happens in this beautiful country of ours, we just want to have a chat about it. Yeah.
Yeah. We're just sharing, like, our feedback, what we think. We're not encouraging anyone to take action, just having an open discussion.
Exactly. So, shall we go through some of the executive? Let me put my glasses on. Some of
Yes.
the ones we're trying to say something about. Number one is, for me, number one is the 1965 Equal Employment Opportunity Act. I can't believe he even had to mess with that. Like, why would you even want to touch that? Number two, ending DEI, or was it DEI? Yeah, ending DEI program, diversity, inclusion, diversity. What was it? What is it? I always get confused. Diversity,
Inclusion.
inclusion, and whatever. Anyway, and then the immigration, obviously. Then U.S. withdrawal from the WHO, ending foreign aid, and the JFK RFK files. So let's start with. I want to know how you feel about this 1965 Equal Employment Opportunity Act. Like, I don't even understand why anyone would have to mess with that. I mean, to like, obviously, we have Americans that are disabled. We have Americans that, racism, whether we like it or not, it still exists. There are people who just like to hire the kind of people that look like them or think like them. It's still around. It's part of human nature. It will never be eradicated. So, and to know our history, I mean, the whole idea why this, the whole reason why this was signed is so that Americans who are, obviously everybody has to earn a living, so the people will not be discriminated based on their disability or the color of their skin or their religion, or of course other things were added to later, like sexual orientation, etc., etc. So I just don't understand, these things can never be eradicated, so why mess with that? How do you feel about that one?
Well, there was an argument that had been on social media for quite some time now, and a lot of people believe that some people get jobs or get into specific college that they normally wouldn't because of that law, or that that law that protects them. But that's furthest from the truth, because I truly believe that this law is actually protecting people who are qualified. Like, you can have a 2.0 GP, what is it, GOP?
GPA.
GPA, yes, GPA, and get into Harvard. It's letting people who have 4.0 or close to that getting into Harvard because of the qualification. This also, Fatlia, the people who benefit from this law more than anyone else are actually white women, because gender is included. Gender is one of the protects gender. So
I think Muhibba, you're talking about DEI. I think that's DEI. I'm talking about the equal opportunity.
I'm sorry.
Yeah. I'm talking about the equal opportunity, which is this, if you're disabled, if you're Black, if you're, whatever, woman, gender is included too. Mm-hmm. You're right. So that's the first one, the 1965 one. DEI is actually not a law. It was just companies came up with it. Remember 2000, around 2000.
Right. But it falls under that. I believe it does fall under that.
It's similar, similar.
It falls under that category. And like both of them, basically, it protects people based on their gender, based on their race, based on their creed, religion. It just encompasses a lot of traits that allow someone to get the job based on their qualification, not anything other than that. So it's not really giving anyone anything that, a job they don't qualify. You're getting the job, you get into the school, whatever that might be that you're being qualified for. You're getting into it because you do possess the ability to get into it, and you deserve it, and you earned it. Absolutely. And that's what a lot of people just think that, if a Black person is going to Ivy school, they don't deserve it. If a woman is getting equal pay with a man, that she doesn't have the skills, or doesn't put that time into the workforce to qualify for that same pay. So it's a weird situation to me, but I honestly personally believe when it comes to anything that protects the gender, protects the race, mostly who benefits from it, especially if it protects gender qualifications or gender equality, we know who benefits more. It was put in place for certain people, and they benefit mostly from it.
You're absolutely right. I think DEI obviously came later than Equal Opportunity Act came, or Employment Act was 1965, and it was signed by President Johnson. And that was because, first and foremost, I think at the time, it was not even so much that women and disabled people, because even if you're disabled and you're still white, you could, if you have the qualifications, you could still get hired. But it was more because African Americans were just not. I mean, this was the Jim Crow years. So, but it was so that people will not be denied employment due to the color of their skin, and then these things still persisted. So that's why after the riots and what was his name, the gentleman that got killed, George Floyd.
George Floyd, yeah.
George Floyd and all the everything that has happened. A lot of companies decided that they'll have inclusive environment in terms of employment, because a lot of people were still lacking. I mean, especially African Americans who were qualified. And again, I will insist on that. It's people, like you said, who are qualified, but who were not even getting interviews by employers, because just because you have a name there has been many investigations that has been done. Just if your name sound like an African American name, you weren't getting an interview. And then people would change the name of their resume, and then immediately they'd get an interview. But then once they get the interview, it'll be like, oops, the job has been we already hired somebody else. And so we all know employers don't really do favors for anybody. They only hire the people that they need, who they think can benefit them and can do the job. And they're not gonna just hire someone oh, because of the color of their skin, and we just have to have, colorful blade of people, like have a hijabi, we have to have a gay person, we have to have an African American, we have to have a Hispanic or brown person, and so we can have all the, the entire salad bowl of that represents America. I don't think that was that is what they try to pretend, but employers were not doing that, and that's what DEI made it possible. Not because and a lot of the people from the right were tarnishing this on purpose, doing this on purpose. Oh, if you're Black, obviously, I'm just going to think. And I don't know if you noticed, but it was always, the fingers were always being pointed on the Black person, not necessarily on the Hispanic person or the Oriental, or Asian person. But it was like, if you're Black, it's automatic that you're only here because, just a favor, just to make the environment look good, and just for us to say. And if you're hijabi, the second thing is, if you're a woman, if you're Muslim, and hijab wearing person, it's like, oh, well, you're here because the employer is basically being forced to hire people like you, and that couldn't be farther from the truth. If a Black person or even a Muslim person gets into Ivy League colleges, it's because they're actually overachievers. Chances are they're actually a lot smarter than the average person, regardless of the color of their skin or creed. And if they get into jobs, high-paying jobs, if they're hired by major companies, chances are they're a lot more qualified than the average person. But yeah, it's
the one who are getting the side eye. Like, how did you get here? It's definitely not competition.
Exactly, and it's just very sad that one really. I think the DEI and obviously the Equal Opportunity Act, they're both linked together. I think it's very sad that the president had to even mess with this one.
Exactly. Okay. But yeah, I want to go. Blessed Nas, thank you for being here again. You made a great point, because I'm seeing a lot of this on social media. So, just to go back what you said, Fadhia, sorry, I apologize. I literally feel like African Americans, Black Americans, they are carrying all minorities in America on their back. All these acts, all these laws were passed because of them. They fought for it, Other people are enjoying it, but the people who made sure that these laws were enacted are African Americans. And I love what Blessna said here. She said that Asian people who were voting for DEI, yes, removed, are now crying because they are not getting accepted to the schools. They didn't know also they benefit from this. Exactly. A lot of immigrants or minorities from other countries don't actually see how the laws that, because they were implemented because African Americans, how it benefits them. They are literally blinded to that. And now I'm seeing a lot of videos of people crying too, talking about like, oh, this is going to affect me. I'm like, you didn't know?
Exactly. Yep. Yeah. Well, that's the saddest part of this whole thing. African Americans always are the first people that stand up for everybody's rights, whether they agree with you, whether they like you or not. But nobody ever stands up for them. I mean, every now and then, maybe some white people would stand up for them, but foreigners, and as someone who was not born in this country, we all know the drill. It's like you just have this. There are certain mindsets or biases that has to do with like stay away from the African Americans. You are programmed. You're already programmed, and then you come here. And for example, I personally can speak to the fact that if there has been many times when an African American lady and I, who oftentimes she's actually far more qualified than I am, but let's just be honest, white people feel much more comfortable with me than with the African American lady, because they just feel like the African American lady, all the history and all the package, but you're African, how wonderful, I want to know more about. It's like you've seen us this exotic creature that is just here to work hard and achieve the American dream, and you don't have all this the history behind you. So Yeah, I feel like there's so
Absolutely.
much injustice against African Americans. And the same thing, everybody's talking about Vivek. You remember Vivek
Yes.
Ramaswamy or whatever?
Yeah.
He's basically kicked to the curb, you know.
Yeah, right? He's
You
trying to become Ohio governor. I'm like, oh, hell to the
know,
no.
do you think he's gonna become Ohio governor, one of the whitest states in the union, when he actually disrespected white Americans? You know,
Mm,
African Americans are used to always being called, you know, you're lazy, you're this, you're that. That's why they're always angry, to be honest,
right.
and
Exactly.
rightfully so. But then he had the audacity to say the same thing about white people, you know, and that's how power works. You know, now he's like, Americans got really, really upset. And I was actually very glad to see that,
Mhm.
because all the things he said, I absolutely didn't agree with it. Including Africans or African Americans or white Americans, all Americans. I think Americans are the smartest people in the world.
Mhm.
Very, very smart people and very talented. And I think they deserve to get the top jobs and the best jobs in their own country. And I don't
Right.
think it's right to bring people from other parts of the world. And Trump, even now, is saying, we need to bring qualified waitress. Did you hear him say that? He said, we need qualified waitress. We need, I mean, it's like unbelievable. What happened to you?
Right.
Excuse
Exactly. Like, the reason Americans voted for him because the price of eggs are just too high. He needs to remember that.
And America first. What does that mean? Which part of that do you not
Ooh.
understand? Like, come on.
But
Americans can do these jobs, especially young people. Young Americans are brilliant. A lot of them, I mean, come on. Are you telling me that Americans cannot do these jobs, you know, like engineering jobs? And it's not even like serious engineering jobs. It's just like coding and, you know, simple jobs. I'm a grandma. I can do it. I mean, almost a grandma. I could be a grandma, but I'm just saying I can do these jobs. And you telling me young, that's like not having faith on the American
yeah,
people.
exactly. And like at the end of the day, honestly, Americans, they just need to realize that they won't hold their government accountable to support them. I feel like the American government is carrying the world on their shoulder, like supporting everybody but Americans. And all Americans citizens want is get support from their government, like you were saying the other day. Like, they want get that support, all that money that's going to the other countries. They want that money back, invested back into the US and like the citizens. I mean, like the amount of homeless people that we have, the programs that have been removed from funding, that have not gotten any funding, that were supporting Americans who are struggling here in America, are just like crazy, So Americans, they want to hold, they might want to focus holding accountable their government more. And what does America First mean? I mean, honestly, like if you look into the America First document itself, it doesn't really like give direct benefit to Americans. It does in a way that, like, it teaches America. It's making America look like, become anti anyone who's different from you. That's
Yeah.
what it's teaching. But America First, to me, what it means is putting funding back into America, not like getting Americans who are like, born here, that aren't from immigrant, that don't even have second generation immigrants, against other Americans. I don't
Yeah.
know if I'm saying this making sense, but
No,
yeah,
no, it does make sense.
like
It does make sense. Yeah,
minorities versus
embracing all
white.
Americans. I
Yeah,
agree. Exactly. Like bring, you know, embracing all Americans. I mean, you can't be America first if you are dividing Americans. But if you bringing all Americans together and embracing all Americans and, helping all Americans and, how does it benefit that some Americans should be homeless and be broken and won't have health care and health insurance, and many families cannot afford to have more children and we need more children, but yet we can't have more children because it's very expensive. Having children is very, very expensive. So instead of dividing American, I can't say I love America. I love America. For me, means I love all Americans. Like if I say I love humanity, I mean it. I love all of humanity. um, regardless of your culture or creed. And the same thing goes. If I love America, it means that I respect and honor all Americans, and I want all Americans to do well, because when my neighbors do well, it means I'm doing well too. But if my neighbors are broken, and then chances are my neighborhood is going to be a mess, and crimes are gonna creep in and all that stuff. So I don't know. The greater good, taking care of the greater good is far more, I think,
Right.
than just individualism. I want to ask you about the WHO. That one.
Oh, yeah. Well, as someone who's been through the whole. Oh, I'm sorry, Fadhia, you were talking. I thought.
Yeah, the World Health Program.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, honestly, to me, I'm excited about that, because I truly feel like that was not benefiting anybody, especially people in America. And who's affiliated with the World Health Organization is Bill Gates. I don't know if you guys are aware what Bill Gates has done in a lot of third world countries, including India, under the umbrella of the World Health Organization, and their participation in the C word that just happened 2020. So all of that, because of all of that, I am glad that organization is eliminated. They were getting a lot of funding from the US to implement all these, all these activities and participation in other countries. And they've done horrible things. I honestly, I do not associate anything positive with that organization. And I'm glad to see that US has exited from that. And that would have been one of the reasons I would give someone my vote just based on that.
Really? Whoa.
Oh yeah, okay. I remember what happened 2020.
Okay. I don't know how I feel about that one personally. I mean, if I'm excited about one thing, I'm excited about obviously Gates himself can fund it. America was actually paying the biggest, I think, America, and then the US and China. And he did the same thing in his first term. And China actually double its participation, of funding. So they'll be around no matter what. The one I'm very, very excited about, if it continues, is right now it's just halting for 90 days. It's international aid. How do you feel about that one?
I have a mixed feeling about that. In one, if we were just to focus, I understand this applies to a lot of countries, not just third world countries or African countries. But for me, I truly believe a lot of the countries that are getting this funding, especially, I can't speak for the Arab world or Israel, they also get that funding. But if I were to speak for Africa as a continent, I feel like a lot of the funding that some African countries get from first world countries, it goes to the leaders, the people. It doesn't really do much for the civilians. A lot of that money is pocketed by the so-called leaders or the people who have access to that funding, rather the people who truly need it, like the people in the refugee camp, the mom that's walking 5 miles each day two-way to get water, to fetch water. It's not reaching, that funding is not reaching to the people who truly deserve it. It's going into the pocket of someone else. So I'm glad to see what happens with that.
Yeah, I feel the same way. I really would like that to be permanently gone, especially the African aid. Obviously, the countries that matter, that get the biggest chunk, they are exempt, and that's obviously Israel and Jordan and Egypt, and those, Jordan and Egypt are not getting it because America loves them. They're getting it because so they won't go to war, with Israel, and that they will always protect Israel. That's the only reason that they get. I think each one of them get 1 point some billion a year, while Israel gets 3 point something. And obviously, since the last 15 months, Israel got like 24 billion. And so,
Who's
but
counting?
Africa gets actually just crumbs, like just the dumbest little grants. And these grants, what they do is, first of all, it's just like you said, it's pocketed by the leaders of these countries and their friends. And secondly, it actually ties a lot of the organizations and ministries into like paperwork and attending this conference and that conference, this and that, and makes them look so pathetic. It seems like just like Congress, U.S. Congress, they're always campaigning. Their campaigning never ends because every 2 years, for example, the Congress, every 2 years they have to be reelected. So their campaigning and their lies never end because they have to. As soon as this one campaign ends, new one starts because they only have like 2 years. And the same thing with the African, ministries that these grants go to. They're always like they have to attend this conference and that conference because they're always busy trying to justify the little bit of money crumbs that they got and what they did with it. And it's so embarrassing. And they have to work hard and do all this mental and physical gymnastics just so these little pathetic funds continue. Yeah. So it hinders. And on top of that, these grants are designed to hinder Africans from developing their countries and their land, and especially agriculture and minerals. Our minerals are stolen every single day. So you get this little bit of grant, this little bit of money, but let our companies dig in and mine your nation illegally. And so it's horrific. And I hope to God that these horrific grants will finally come to an end. Yeah. So I'm very, very excited about that. I just don't think it will, though, because it actually giving these little silly grants to Africa, the richest continent in the world, is because it benefits. These little grants benefit America
more. Exactly.
More. They're getting a lot more from Africa, but they make it look like we're giving you something when actually so much away from.
Oh my God! Like that literally resembles the relationship of someone who's nice and narcissist. Like they give you a little bit and they expect so much from you. They hold you accountable. Like they're like, I did that for you. It's like always reminding you what they did for you. So then they get more out of the relationship.
Indeed.
This world, sometimes you really just want to put yourself in a position where you're not, getting too much resource from people, because whoever is supplying you can also is in control of how you live your life. And I'm glad I hope this becomes a permanent, like you say, Fathia, because also it's enabling. Because Africans, our continent is the richest continent in the world, but we don't know how to tap into our resource. Maybe this will, it's not like we were getting a lot that we were like surviving on it, but this halt or this elimination of the funding can result us going in and just like you learn to use our own resources and make use of it.
Absolutely, God willing. And okay, so we have a couple of more. One is immigration. Immigration. I actually want to play this video. Obviously, immigration is like the top priority for America first. And I think for all Americans, I think for once and for all, it would be wonderful to just, come up with a comprehensive immigration, thing that works for this country. Obviously, we always need more immigrants to do a lot of jobs. There are a lot of jobs, that Americans won't do, like housekeeping and working in the, farmland and agriculture, all that stuff. So I think we always need immigration. And we need newcomers. That's what makes America beautiful. This beautiful tapestry that has every shade in humanity. But obviously, I do agree that we need legal immigration, not illegal immigration. But there's this video I want to share with people. This is a young woman who has DACA. DACA is young people that came here with their parents illegally, and so they have this document that allows them to remain in the country. It's not a green card, but to work so they can work and they can go to school. And a lot of these young people, especially a lot of them are Hispanic people from either Mexico or other parts of South America, and they are high achievers, amazing young people that do amazing things. And this young woman is one of them. And it really breaks my heart, because although DACA always remains, because a lot of these young people are people who are needed in different industries, and a lot of them are college graduates, but you can only imagine not knowing where you stand. Will the next president deny everything and deport you, or will you remain? And this is the only country many of them have ever known. And so let's hear it. It breaks my heart and makes me feel privileged. And she'll say that. Let's hear it. Let's see it. Just a second.
Yeah.
Okay.
The harsh reality of being a DACA recipient. So today I had to have a very uncomfortable conversation with my boss during our one-on-one to let him know that I received an email from the immigration attorney letting me know that I have to submit my DACA renewal as soon as possible, because there's an influx of renewal applications coming in, because everybody's panicked and very scared that the incoming administration is gonna try to repeal that as soon as possible. She said there's already talk within their community that that's more than likely going to be the case. So here I am sitting across from my boss, letting him know that there's a possibility that my current permit is going to expire before the new one gets here, because the backlogs are already happening. So how uncomfortable to have a meeting where I'm supposed to be discussing data, what's next, what experiments we're going to be doing. And I have to start off by saying, hey, I don't know if the following months if I'm going to be able to work here, because God forbid this has already happened to me, where my permit doesn't arrive on time and they literally have to fire me from my job because I'm no longer legally employable.
I mean, I want to hold this for a second and comment on it. I mean, would you ever think someone like this is like an immigrant? I mean, she has no accent. Obviously she like, but imagine that. Imagine, just she probably got here very young, very early age, probably does not even remember how she got here. It's not her fault. This is the only country she has ever known. And why would we keep people like this up in the air? She received, but it will continue. But you want to say something before I continue?
Yeah, no, I was gonna say, it's just now this goes back to what we were talking about earlier. It's just like it's giving people the sense that America only identifies America as the country that certain people are allowed to stay here, regardless of your appearance or regardless how long you've been here. It doesn't matter. If you're not part of a certain group, you don't belong.
Very, very sad. She'll continue. I mean, this young woman, she worked so hard. She's such a high achiever.
How is this my life? How is something that I have absolutely no control over have so much impact on my life? A lot of you will never understand what it's like to get up and to genuinely give your very best every day, only to have your entire life potentially upended by something that's completely out of your control. Wow. That has nothing to do with an accident or being sick. It's literal bureaucracy that's getting in the way of you just living a normal life. I've literally done everything right, never committed a crime. I graduated valedictorian from my high school. I didn't qualify for scholarships because of my status. I figured out a way to pay through my college. I got my bachelor's, I got my master's. I worked my butt off to get the job of my dreams, and I'm sitting here and it's still not enough. Like, what am I supposed to do? What am I supposed to do?
Wow. That really made me feel emotional, very sad, you know. There were others that, committed minor crimes, but then they were already in waiting for deportation, and now instead of, because people are being stopped on the streets, and so they had to actually just decided, I can't wait anymore. I mean, I'd rather just take all my stuff and what I have, so I can just deport, so I can be deported instead of being, taken off the street, and then you just with just what you're wearing, just that's
Yeah.
it, just
Yeah.
you get deported, and so that people are already doing that. It's really heartbreaking.
Yeah, I mean, like, I was seeing videos on TikTok where police can just profile you and stop you and ask for, like, if you have your passport with you. That's literally what's at. This morning I was watching someone saying that, like, the police stopped them and they asked for their passport, and even like they had to find ways to like provide their passport, an image of it or something, to like show that they had beyond their ID, because even illegal immigrants can have an ID.
Yeah.
And a lot of people were saying that,
many
if they
states,
check you in the system, they can see that you are a U.S. citizen, but that wasn't enough. They had to prove physically that they are a U.S. citizen.
who they say
I
they
mean,
are.
but yeah, this is like, it's so scary. The other day I was also watching saw a TikTok video where a police raided like a whole shopping center in Texas, and people were just running like wild. Like, if you see that, it will break your heart to see people running and the police chasing and the motorcycles, police motorcycles. It's all over. But I have a theory, and there's a theory going around which I agree with, because it goes back. U.S. was built. This country was built on free labor, and now a lot of America First, that document, if you look at it, it promotes private prison. So all these people that are being detained, U.S. doesn't have the ability right now to take people back to their countries immediately. All these people are going to be in prison, private prison, and then they will, like, be giving free labor job, like free labor. They will perform free labor. And who's going to go back?
And on top of that, they will get paid $50,000 a year to house people.
Exactly.
So it's like doubling the, they have people
the guy,
and on top of that,
right, the guy who wrote America First document, put it together, like, he has his hand in private prisons,
equity, and private prisons.
So it's just follow the money. So even if you are a U.S. citizen right now, honestly, there's no way saying that you are 100% exempted from this, because they can just track you for the small stuff. I don't want to preach fear, but let's just be cautious what we're sharing. I've seen videos of people saying that they're going to start covering their face so they don't want to be identified while they're out and about, because now we have that technology that like identifies you while you're out and about, like facial recognition, and they want to like cover their face. I'm like, in the Sharif time. But that's the whole
even scarier, because I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's uncertain times. You never know what to expect at this point.
Wow. I'm going to share this video, this lawyer lady, and we can end it after this. But she's a lawyer, and she is talking about how her client, she's giving her clients, let me see now, it's this one. She's giving advice to her clients, and
CBP pulled over my client in Huntington Park, California today. They asked for her driver's license, and she gave it to them. They ran some checks, did whatever they did, came back, returned her driver's license, and let her go. My client has a valid work authorization. The disturbing part of the story is, what is CBP, Customs and Border Patrol, doing in Huntington Park, California? There's no border there. We also received phone calls from clients in Utah saying that CBP was in Walmart looking for people. Other calls came in from Van Nuys saying that Customs and Border Patrol were there. Sightings were from Home Depot and McDonald's. Well, thank God for Amazon, DoorDash, and Postmates. If I were you, I would order what you need from Amazon, and if you're craving to go out to a restaurant, order takeout.
Wow.
It's also good practice to find some paperwork to show that you've been living in the United States for over 2 years. This could be a lease agreement, it could be a cell phone bill, it can be an electric bill, but take pictures of them and have them in your phone. The reason is you can get picked up, taken into custody, and if ICE believes you have not been in the United States for 2 years, they can remove you without a hearing. I had a client who was here in the United States since he was 6 and he was in his 20s. They picked him up and said, you know what, you don't have any proof on you. They put him under expedited removal proceedings. It was a nightmare, but before they could put him on a plane, we proved that he had been here for over 2 years. We pulled his school records and emailed them to the ICE officer. It was a lot of drama that can be avoided if you just have that proof on you. Knowledge is power. Stay informed, and let's all ride out this storm together. It's not sustainable, and it will stop, but you don't want to be the one who gets caught up.
I feel like in the beginning, I mean, the reason why, like the first few days, like I want to focus on what she said last, which is it's not sustainable. Let's ride this storm together. I think, you know, Trump has a way of like, you know, in the beginning, it's all about like creating an image, you know, tough. Like yesterday, there was the media was covering how Saudi Arabia said that they will invest 600 billion with a B in the United States. I mean, I'm like, that can actually bring peace in the Middle East, you know. $600 billion investment. And you know what Trump said? He said the Crown Prince said that he will invest 600 billion, but let's just round it up and make it $1 trillion. Just making it so easy. I think you're frozen. Muhibba, are you frozen? And making it so like just round it up. I always, when I go to certain places and I buy something, it's always, do you want to, like Goodwill, do you want to round it up to, you know, $40? So I'm like, so it's all about this image of like, you know, just outrageous things and people feeling the weight of the world and terror and all that. And of course, there are a lot of people who are also making this whole thing so much bigger and so much, you know, obviously, some things we just have to take it with a grain of salt, I think, a little bit. But yeah, I'm hoping that it'll just be a storm and it'll end soon, inshallah.
Am I still frozen?
No, you're fine now.
Okay. Yeah, blessed Nazareth said, it's scary. I can't be deported to Somalia. Can I go to Mexico instead? I will not survive 1 day in Somalia. So you and I both. Yeah, I mean, like, honestly,
I don't want to.
it really is. I'm not gonna lie to you. I had my alarm on yesterday, middle of the day. I'm like, if someone's coming to my house, I need to know. It's just, especially seeing those videos that say that even if you are a U.S. citizen, sometimes you will need to provide further proof that you are a U.S. citizen, and they're not just going to take your word. I mean, people are talking about like their doors were knocked because someone who is they're affiliated with someone who's immigrant who hasn't been in the U.S. more than 2 years. I mean, they're pulling out those kind of records. You know, this is definitely America is going backwards. And someone say that they're doing this because they bless Nas, yeah, because the immigrants are taking white people's jobs. But I mean, like, how many American citizens, whether white or black, are willing to work in a farm? You know, there aren't a lot. So the immigrants are willing to, and this country was built on immigrants. Like U.S. used to go to other countries long time ago to pick the brightest people in those countries to come work in the U.S. It's still happening. This whole like HPS visa. That's what it's all about. Cheap labor, going to other countries, picking up the brightest of those of that country and like bringing them to U.S.
They're not even necessarily the brightest, to be honest.
Yeah, I mean, like, you know, free labor. At the end of the day, free labor, cheap labor, that's what it comes down to.
Exactly. But isn't that sad that the jobs that your people need, and most certainly can do, you're willing to give it to other people, you know, the favor immigrants. There are certain immigrants that are tiny bit favored because they are seen as, you know, people who kind of follow the rules or whatever. You know, like they'll do what you tell them to do. So
Yeah.
but it's you know, but then if that's what you're looking for, is that really America? Isn't America all about discourse and, you know, protesting and, you know, just, isn't that free speech and all that? I mean, it's like you can't just pick and choose. Like, please pick one, you know.
Yeah.
So it's all confusing.
Yeah, and I want to mention while we're in the immigration, like a lot of, even like, you know, now immigrants can't even come to America. A lot of immigrants from like Muslim countries, they can't come to America anymore. Like till things like those executive orders, something's done with the executive orders. Like I was hearing that there are like 15 Afghan families that, like, you know, they worked with the U.S. government. Like
1,500
1,500. Okay, I thought it was 15. Yeah. And they had everything ready, their flight date, all that stuff, and it's just it's all gone now. And their life is in threat because it's in danger because, like, you know, they are being accused of like working with the U.S. government. Imagine that.
They're under threat by the Taliban. But also the Muslim ban is actually bigger blanket now. It doesn't say the Muslim ban because the first one was only 7 countries, Somalia included. But this one is like, it's more about the entire Muslim umbrella. So I think we should cover that another time. A lot of people already know it because it's very interesting. You know, it's all about, you know, if you're Muslim, you basically don't have a voice. Like right now, you and I shouldn't be talking about this whole thing.
Honestly, like,
keep your mouth shut and don't say anything if you're already here. And if you and of course, it's going to be very difficult for anyone to come for the next 4 years. So
if you are literally, like, I was watching this morning a young Arab woman say that, like, Muslims, you need to keep it hush hush. Do not get involved in this stuff. Stop. Like, you know, do not share your opinions about this administration because you never know. Just because of that, regardless if you are a U.S. citizen or not, you can get deported just for airing your opinion that is not in favor of the current.
And I also would suggest don't leave the country if you're already here, because chances are if you get out and come back and they already the ahead of time they have your name and information, and they'll your social media postings and everything will be researched. And if there's anything that you've posted that even, you know, simple things like Free Palestine, you can be held indefinitely. And you could even be deported, and you might eventually come back if you're an American citizen, but you will go through hell. You know, I might take the entire 4 years or 8 years, you know, if another, you know, if another like Trump comes in and they uphold everything that he has done. And so, it's
I love that you brought that up. I was thinking about that yesterday. This is not the time to leave the U.S., guys.
Yeah, I was gonna go to Europe, you know, March to attend an event, but I won't. I'm not gonna go. Yeah. Anyway, I think we should leave it at that. It's getting long. Thank you so much for your time. people and the comments and everything. We really appreciate it. Don't forget to like and share and follow Muhubbo at her channel, Muhubbo Fabulous. All right.
Thank you. Guys,
All
thank you
right.
so much for being here. And thank you for sharing your feedback with us too. We love reading your comments. Sorry, we might not read every comment and give a feedback, but we really appreciate it. A lot of our discussions are like, like just based on talking about things that impact us and our communities, and we want to raise awareness. So thank you for being here, and we appreciate your support.
All right.
Thank you, Fadhia. You are an amazing host. I appreciate you. Have a good day.
Thank you so much. Same here, Galiso.
Jum'ah Mubarak, guys.
Jum'ah Mubarak. Bye.
Bye.